The music stopped abruptly when a little girl broke through security and ran toward the stage. What happened next would become one of the most legendary moments in hip-hop history, and 40,000 people would never forget the sight of Tupac Shakur kneeling down to listen to a child's desperate plea. It was August 3, 1996. The Atlanta Music Festival was in full swing, and Tupac was delivering one of the most energetic performances of his career. The crowd of 40,000 was electric, singing along to every word as he performed, "Dear Mama." The song was particularly meaningful to him, and he was pouring his heart into every verse when suddenly, chaos erupted near the front of the stage. A small figure had somehow slipped past multiple layers of security and was running across the stage toward Tupac. At first, security guards rushed to intercept what they assumed was an overzealous fan or potential threat. But as the figure got closer, everyone could see it was a little girl, no more than 10 years old, tears streaming down her face. Tupac's first instinct was protective. He immediately signaled for security to stop, holding up his hand as he set down his microphone. The entire arena fell silent, 40,000 people holding their breath as they watched this tiny child approach one of the biggest stars in the world. The little girl was wearing a faded Tupac t-shirt that was too big for her small frame, and she was clearly distraught about something. As she reached the center of the stage, she looked up at Tupac with eyes full of hope and desperation. But what she said next would change everything. "Please, Mr. Tupac," she said, her voice barely audible but somehow carrying through the arena SEP's sound system. "My mama is dying and she loves you so much. Can you please sing to her?" The words hit Tupac like a physical blow. Here was this innocent child, brave enough to run through security and interrupt his concert, not for herself, but for her dying mother. The vulnerability in her voice, the pure love she had for her family, the courage it must have taken to get to this moment, all of it overwhelmed him. Tupac knelt down to the little girl SIP's eye level, and when he spoke, his voice was gentle and full of emotion. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Maya," she replied, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "My mama SIP's name is Sarah. She SIP's in the hospital, and the doctors say she might not make it through the night." The arena was completely silent now. 40,000 people were witnessing an intimate conversation between a global superstar and a child in crisis, and something about the moment felt sacred. "Maya," Tupac said, taking her small hands in his, "tell me about your mama." Through her tears, Maya began to speak. "She raised me all by herself. She works 2 jobs to pay for my school, and she never complains about anything. Every night she plays your music, and she always says you remind her to be strong." Tupac felt his own eyes welling up with tears. This little girl was describing exactly the kind of woman he had tried to honor in songs like "Dear Mama." The strong, struggling mothers who sacrificed everything for their children. "She always tells me that your music helped her when things got really hard after my daddy left," Maya continued. "She says you understand what it's like to struggle and that you give her hope." What Tupac said next would become legendary throughout the hip-hop community. Tupac stood up and addressed the entire arena, his voice carrying through the sound system to every corner of the venue. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Maya. Maya's mother Sarah is fighting for her life in a hospital tonight, and Maya had the courage to come up here and ask me to sing for her." The crowd erupted in support of applause, but Tupac wasn't finished. "You know what? Maya just reminded me why I do this. Music isn't about fame or money or awards. Music is about connecting with people, about giving hope to those who need it most. And right now there sits no one who needs our love and energy more than Maya SIP's mama." He turned back to Maya, who was still standing beside him on stage. "Maya, I'm going to sing for your mama. But I'm not just going to sing to her. I want this entire crowd of 40,000 people to sing with me. We're going to send so much love and positive energy to your mama that she'll feel it in that hospital room." The crowd went wild with approval, but Tupac held up his hand for silence. "But first, Maya, I need you to help me. This is your mama we stir singing for, so you need to be my co-star tonight. Are you ready to help me give your mama the most beautiful song she stares ever heard? Maya nodded eagerly, wiping away the last of her tears. Tupac gestured to his DJ. Let's sits do that, dear mama. Sits, but let's sits do it different tonight. This one sits for Sarah. But what happened during that performance would shock everyone who witnessed it. As the music began, Tupac didn't start singing immediately. Instead, he handed Maya the microphone and said, "Tell your mama how much you love her. Tell her what you want her to know." Maya looked out at the 40,000 people staring at her, took a deep breath, and spoke into the microphone. "Mama, if you can hear this, I want you to know that you're the strongest person in the world. You taught me to never give up, and I'm not giving up on you. Please don't give up either." With Ali teens, the crowd erupted in emotional cheers and applause. Many people were crying, moved by the pure love and strength of this 10-year-old girl. Then Tupac began to sing Dear Mama, but he changed some of the lyrics to speak directly to Maya's mother. Instead of singing about his own mother, he sang about Sarah Ness, her strength, her sacrifice, her love for her daughter. But the most incredible part was when the entire crowd of 40,000 people began singing along, their voices creating a massive choir that seemed to shake the very foundations of the venue. The energy was unlike anything anyone had ever experienced at a concert. Maya stood beside Tupac throughout the entire song, sometimes singing along, sometimes just listening with a smile on her face, as 40,000 strangers sent love to her mother. When the song ended, the arena erupted in the longest standing ovation in the venue's history. But Tupac wasn't done yet. "Maya," he said, "I want you to have something." He took off one of his gold chains, a piece of jewelry worth thousands of dollars, and placed it around her neck. "This is for your mama. You tell her that Tupac Shakur believes in her strength, and that she's got 40,000 new family members praying for her tonight." But what he said next would become the stuff of hip-hop legend. "Maya, your mama raised an incredible little girl. The courage you showed tonight, the love you have for your family, that sips what real strength looks like. And I want everyone here to remember this moment, because Maya just taught us something more valuable than any song I could ever write." Tupac turned to address the crowd again. "This little girl just showed us what unconditional love looks like. She showed us that sometimes the most important thing you can do is ask for help when someone you love is in trouble. She showed us that real courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being scared but doing what's right anyway." The crowd was hanging on every word, many people openly crying as they watched this unexpected lesson in love and courage unfold before them. From now on, Tupac continued, "Whenever I perform Sever Dear Mama, Sever I'm going to think about Maya and her mother Sarah. They Sever going to remind me why this music matters, why these words matter, why we all need to take care of each other." He knelt down to Maya one more time. "Maya, you just changed my life. You reminded me that the most important thing any of us can do is love our families and take care of each other. Your mama is lucky to have you." What happened next moved everyone in attendance to tears. Tupac asked Maya if she had a way to contact her mother at the hospital. When she said she had her grandmother's phone number, Tupac arranged for the venue's sound technician to call the hospital and patch the call through the arena's sound system. Within minutes, Maya was speaking to her mother Lav, with 40,000 people listening to their conversation. "Mama, are you there?" Maya said into the microphone. A weak but loving voice came through the speakers. "Maya, baby, is that really you? Where are you?" "I stummed at the Tupac concert, Mama. He sang Zitter Dear Mama Sit just for you, and 40,000 people sent you their love." There was silence for a moment. Then Sarah Sip's voice came through. "Stronger now, Maya, you amazing little girl. I can believe you did this for me. Mama, Tupac wants to talk to you," Maya said, handing the microphone back to him. "Sarah," Tupac said, his voice full of emotion, "your daughter is the most courageous person I ever met. She loves you so much that she ran through security just to ask me to sing for you. You must be an incredible mother to raise such an amazing child." Sarah Sip's voice was barely above a whisper, but everyone could hear her. "Thank you, Tupac. Your music has gotten me through so many hard times, and knowing that you took care of my Maya tonight, I don't have words. Sarah, you fight. You fight because Maya needs you, and because the world needs more mothers like you. Your little girl just taught 40,000 people what real love looks like." The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Sarah speaking to both Maya and the crowd, thanking everyone for their love and support. By the time the call ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. But the impact of that night was just beginning. News of Maya's interruption and Tupac's response spread rapidly through the hip-hop community and beyond. Videos of the performance, recorded by fans in the audience, began circulating immediately. Within days, the story was being covered by major news outlets across the country. But more importantly, the story inspired a movement within the hip-hop community. Artists began incorporating similar moments of community and healing into their own performances. The idea that concerts could be more than entertainment, that they could be opportunities for real human connection and mutual support, began to take hold. Tupac himself was profoundly changed by the experience. In interviews following the Atlanta concert, he spoke repeatedly about Maya and how she had reminded him of his true purpose as an artist. "That little girl showed me something I had forgotten," he said in a radio interview. A week later, "Music isn't sit about me. It sits about us. It sits about using whatever platform you have to lift people up, to bring people together, to help people heal." He also revealed that he had been going through a difficult period personally, questioning his direction as an artist and his impact on the world. "Maya saved me that night," he admitted. "She reminded me why I started making music in the first place." As for Maya and her mother Sarah, their story had a happy ending. Sarah's condition improved dramatically following the concert. While doctors couldn't explain the medical reasons for her recovery, Sarah always credited the love and positive energy she received from Maya and the 40,000 strangers who sang for her that night. "I felt that love," Sarah later said in a television interview. "I was lying in that hospital bed and I could feel the love of all those people. It gave me strength to fight." Maya and Sarah were later invited to several more Tupac concerts, where they were treated as special guests. Tupac always made a point of acknowledging them from the stage, and Maya's story became a regular part of his performances. The gold chain Tupac gave Maya that night became a family treasure, but more importantly, the experience changed Maya's life trajectory. Inspired by the kindness and support she received from the hip-hop community, she eventually became a social worker, dedicating her life to helping families in crisis. "That night taught me that people are basically good," Maya said years later. "I learned that if you stir brave enough to ask for help, people will step up. Tupac and those 40,000 people showed me what community really means." The Atlanta concert performance became one of the most cited examples of hip-hop's positive impact on communities. Music scholars and social activists pointed to Maya's interruption and Tupac's response as evidence that rap music could be a force for healing and connection, not just rebellion and anger. But perhaps the most lasting impact was on Tupac himself. The experience fundamentally changed how he approached his art and his public persona. He began incorporating more explicit messages of hope and community support into his music, and he started using his concerts as platforms for addressing social issues and promoting positive change. In his final interviews before his death, Tupac frequently mentioned the Atlanta concert and Maya Sip's courage. "That little girl reminded me that the most important thing any of us can do is take care of each other," he said. "She showed me that real strength comes from love, not anger." The legacy of that night continues to influence hip-hop artists today. Many performers cite Maya's story as inspiration for their own efforts to use their platforms for positive social impact. The idea that artists have a responsibility to their communities, that fame comes with an obligation to lift others up, became a central theme in conscious hip-hop. Maya's desperate plea on that August night in Atlanta had indeed created a hip-hop legend, not just because of Tupac's response, but because of the lasting reminder that music's greatest power lies in its ability to connect human hearts and inspire love in action. The little girl who interrupted a song changed the course of hip-hop history, proving that sometimes the smallest voices can create the biggest impact. The ripple effect that changed hip-hop forever. The Atlanta concert didn't just create a memorable moment, it sparked a fundamental shift in how hip-hop artists viewed their relationship with their audiences and communities. Maya's courage that night became a catalyst for what music historians now call the conscious hip-hop renaissance of the late 1990s. In the weeks following the concert, other major hip-hop artists began reaching out to Tupac to learn more about what had happened that night. Jay-Z, Nas, and Lauryn Hill were among those who called to discuss how they could incorporate similar community-focused elements into their own performances. Pac told me about that little girl, and it changed how I thought about performing. Jay-Z later revealed in a 2010 interview, "I realized that people come to our shows carrying their real-life struggles, their hopes, their pain. We have an opportunity to address that, not just entertain them. You have an opportunity to address that, not just entertain them." The story of Maya and her mother also caught the attention of community organizations across the country. Social workers, teachers, and healthcare professionals began using the Atlanta concert as an example of how communities could come together to support families in crisis. Dr. Patricia Williams, a social worker who studied the impact of music on healing, wrote extensively about the Atlanta concert in her research. What Tupac and that audience created that night was a perfect example of collective healing, she explained. Maya's plea became a vehicle for 40,000 people to express their own love for their families and their community. But perhaps the most significant long-term impact was on Tupac himself. Friends and collaborators noticed immediate changes in his behavior and artistic focus following the Atlanta concert. Johnny J. Jackson, who produced several tracks for Tupac in his final months, observed the shift clearly. "After that night with the little girl, Pac was different," Jackson recalled. "He started asking different questions about his music. Instead of just asking if a track was hot, he'd ask if it would help people, if it would give someone hope." This change in perspective influenced several songs on what would become Tupac's final album. Tracks like Life Goes On and Until the End of Time contained explicit references to the importance of family, community support, and hope in the face of adversity, themes that were directly influenced by his encounter with Maya. The Atlanta concert also inspired Tupac to establish what he planned to call the Maya Foundation, a nonprofit organization designed to support families dealing with medical crises. Though his death prevented the foundation from being fully realized, his estate eventually created a similar organization in his memory. Tupac talked about that foundation constantly in his final weeks, recalled Frank Alexander, his bodyguard. He wanted to create a way for his success to directly help families like Maya Sips. He felt like that little girl had given him a purpose bigger than music. The foundation, when it was eventually established, helped hundreds of families navigate medical emergencies and connected them with community support systems. Maya herself became one of the foundation's first volunteer coordinators when she turned 18. Maya's own life trajectory was profoundly shaped by that night in Atlanta. Growing up with the knowledge that she had inspired a movement of community support and conscious artistry gave her a unique perspective on the power of individual action. "I learned that night that you don't have to be big or powerful or famous to make a difference," Maya reflected in a 2015 interview. "Sometimes you just have to be brave enough to ask for help and honest enough to show your vulnerability." Her mother Sarah recovered fully and lived another 22 years after the Atlanta concert. Throughout her life, she remained active in community organizations and frequently spoke about the importance of the support she received that night. "Those 40,000 strangers became my family," Sarah often said. "Maya Sip's courage opened a door for love to flow in when we needed it most. That Sip's a lesson I tried to pass on to everyone I met." The video footage of Maya's interruption and Tupac's response became one of the most watched hip-hop performance videos of all time. Music video directors began studying the Atlanta concert to understand how authentic emotion could create more powerful visual narratives. "You can manufacture what happened that night," explained music video director Hype Williams. "It was pure human connection, and it reminded all of us that the best moments in music happen when artists drop their personas and connect soul to soul with their audience. The Atlanta concert also influenced how venues approach security and audience interaction. Many concert halls began training their security staff to be more discerning about interruptions, recognizing that sometimes apparent disruptions could lead to meaningful moments. Maya changed how we think about concert security, explained Marcus Johnson, a venue security director. We learned to look for intent, not just action. Sometimes what looks like a problem is actually an opportunity for something beautiful to happen. The impact extended beyond hip-hop into other musical genres. Rock, pop, and R&B artists began incorporating more audience interaction and community focus into their performances, citing the Atlanta concert as inspiration. Lauryn Hill, in particular, became known for stopping her concerts to address individual audience members who appeared to be in distress. Maya showed us that our stages can be platforms for healing, Hill explained. That little girl opened up a whole new way of thinking about what concerts can be. The religious community also embraced the story, with many pastors using Maya's courage and the community's response as examples of practical love and mutual support. That little girl embodied the biblical principle of asking and receiving, explained Reverend James Miller. And that audience embodied the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself. The gold chain Tupac gave Maya that night is now displayed in the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, representing hip-hop's healing potential. The legacy of that August night continues to influence new generations. Maya's plea and Tupac's response prove that music's greatest power lies in human connections. The little girl who broke through security to save her mother ended up saving hip-hop's soul, reminding everyone that music's true purpose is to heal, connect, and love.